Hello, this is a posture video by the Epsom Physiotherapy and Sports Injury Clinic, and we're going to talk about the differences in posture types and how to correct that, and then we're going to do a couple of exercises to change your posture and just make you think about your standing. So we're going to just refer to the posture sheet, and we'll notice that in an ideal posture what we're aiming for is that the waistband is horizontal, the tailbone is sticking out at about 30 degrees in the diagram, and that the curves in the spine are nice and small, the chest is lifted, and that the rib cage overhangs the pelvis. The chin is tucked in so that the forehead and the chin is vertical, and the back of the neck is nice and stretched long and you feel tall. So that's what we're aiming for. So Gabby, hi Gabby, on the right is a lordotic, and she's going to demonstrate how she stands badly and how we correct that. So fingers together. If you put your fingers on your rim of your pelvis, you can tip your pelvis forward, Gabby, and that's how she tends to stand, with water pouring out the front of the bowl. So to correct that, she's going to pull her pubic bone up and her tailbone down to bring the pelvis into the position where the rim of the bowl is horizontal and the water is not spilling out the front. Show that again, Gabby. So tip your pelvis forwards. You can see the rim of the bowl tipping forward, and now bring it back into the horizontal position where the rim of the bowl is horizontal. Lovely. And she's brought her tailbone down and her pubic bone up to correct this. So her waistband would now be horizontal and the rim of the bowl is horizontal. So Joe, hi Joe, on the right is going to demonstrate a sway back. So the sway back is where Joe would normally stand, as you can see, like a banana. So her pelvis is pushed forward, her rib cage is behind her pelvis, she locks her knees and she hollows her chest and pokes her chin. So to correct that, she brings her pelvis underneath her and her chest comes forward and lifts so that her pelvis now tucks underneath her rib cage and her rib cage is slightly in front of her pelvis. Let's do that again, Joe. So she's going to push her hips forward, which tilts her pelvis, tucks under, and then she's going to straw her tummy right underneath her rib cage and stand nice and tall with her pelvis slightly behind her rib cage. So now the other thing that happens when she does that, we'll just show that once more, Joe, is that when she goes into her sway, her pelvis tips back and the rim of the bowl actually drops back at the back, so the water spills out the back of the bowl. So we're going to come into the upright position, and we're both going to have a little play with that now. So if you put your hands on your hips, we're just going to see which way is easier for you. So we're going to tip the pelvis forwards, so the bowl tips forwards. Joe's going to put her hand in front of her tummy and on the back, on her tailbone, so she can feel it in a different way. So you can try both ways. So just tipping forwards first, and now tipping backwards as far as you can. See if you can get your tailbone to tuck under. Notice how Joe finds that really easy. Gabby's getting a little bit of tip back. Now forwards. Don't do any of these if they're painful. Just go as far as you can without pain. And now tip back. So now tip the water out the back of the bowl. And now tip the bowl forwards and tip the water out the front of the bowl. And just see which is easier for you. This should tell you if you find it easier to tip your pelvis forwards, then you're probably a lordotic. And if you find it easier to tip the bowl backwards and tip the water out the back of the bowl, you're probably a sway. Very nice, both of you. Now find your horizontal position where your pelvis is horizontal and your pubic bone and the front of the pelvis is nice and vertical, but the waistband is horizontal. Good. So now we're going to put our hands down by our side. We should hang our hands in front of our thighs, especially Joe. If she's correcting her sway, her pelvis should be sucked in enough that her hands are in front of her thighs, not next to her thighs. So we're just going to look down at our feet. We need to have our feet, if you don't have the ball between your feet, but we're going to keep the ball there for the later exercises, you're squeezing the ball between your feet so that your feet are about 4 inches apart, which is about the width of your foot, so a bit less squeezed, Gabby. The inside border of your feet should be parallel, and that means because your feet are triangular, the outside border will be slightly pointing out. So now we're going to notice where the kneecaps are. So we're going to roll our feet out and we're going to roll our feet in. So notice what happens to your kneecaps. When you roll your feet out, the kneecaps turn out. And if you had lights coming out of the front of your kneecaps would, the lights would turn out and the lights would then cross in the middle. They wouldn't be parallel anymore. So when you open your knees and roll your feet out, the lights turn out as the kneecaps turn out. When you roll in, the kneecaps roll in and the lights would converge. So now find your mid position where you feel as if you're lifting your arches sufficiently so that the kneecaps are facing the front, but you're not going out too far so that the lights are parallel. Well done. Now we're going to check that. We're going to bend the knees so that the knees go over the feet. So if your arches are dropped, your knees will be closer together as you do this. If your arches are too lifted, then your knees will point out. So the knees need to be over the middle of the foot. Now straighten the knees. Once more, bend the knees. Make sure the knees go over the front of the foot and then they disappear underneath the feet. Underneath the knees rather, and then we're going to straighten. So keep the knees in that position now. Now we're going to notice the weight on the feet. So we're going to just rock backwards and forwards from our chest. So try, especially Joe, don't allow your pelvis to swing backwards and forwards. Think about swinging from like a vertical stick. You're going to just swing, your head and shoulders goes backwards and forward. So notice that you can take all of your weight on your heels and then all of your weight on your toes. And we're going to come back to our resting position. And we want to try and keep 70% on our heels and 30% across the ball of the foot and the toes. So 70% across the back of the foot, so on the heel, and 30% at the front. So just do that again, rock forwards again and rock back. And just feel, how you can, Gabby's actually showing you lifting the heels and lifting her toes slightly, which just makes it even more exaggerated. Jo's keeping her feet on the floor. So you can do either if you want to exaggerate that. So now come back onto your heels. So you've got 70% of your weight on your heels. Your toes are resting on the floor, but you've got 30% of the weight there. Good. So now we're going to think about our weight side to side. So we're going to just transfer our weight onto one foot and then onto the other foot. And we're just going to feel how much easier it is to take our weight onto one foot than the other. We will tend to have a favourite foot that we like to stand on. So we're just going to see how that feels and which is your favourite foot. So now rock smaller and smaller until you're taking your weight 50-50 on both feet. And be very aware that you've still got 70% of your weight on your heels and 30% at the front of the foot. So 50-50, resting 50-50, check your forwards and back. Very nice. So now we should have a neutral spine. We've worked on the pelvic position. We should have the feet in neutral. And we should have 70% of the weight on the heels, 30% on the front, and 50-50, one on each foot. We're just going to check that our knees are soft, and we're just going to think about the top half of our body now. So we're going to imagine we've got a big helium balloon attached to the back of our head, and we're going to breathe in, and imagine that helium balloon is lifting you up to the ceiling as you breathe in, and breathe out. Just relax. Good. Inhale. See if you can grow taller, lift your chest, tuck your chin in, lengthen the back of your leg, and then relax. Good. 3 more breaths like that. Inhale, lift up, so your head is going up to the ceiling, and then breathe out, relax. 2 more like that. Breathing in, imagine your head is lifting up to the ceiling, and breathing out, relax. Last one, inhale, lift up to the ceiling, and then breathe out, relax. Good. Then we're going to do the shoulders. Imagine you've got a little balloon attached to each shoulder. So we're going to lift the left shoulder up to our ear and breathe out, down. Inhale, lift the right shoulder up and breathe out, down. Good. As high as you can and breathe out, down. Imagine that balloon's lifting and floating it up and then breathe out, down. Now smaller and smaller. Left arm just halfway and breathe out. Down, the shoulder lifts with the balloon on the right and down, and then a little one, tiny, and down, tiny on the right. Good, one more, little one on the left and a little one on the right. Good. Then we're going to roll the shoulders forwards, up, back and down. Again, a big movement, making sure you engage the muscles between the shoulder blades. Inhale and breathe out to relax. Inhale forwards and up. Relax, breathe out, back and down. Good, last one, forwards and up and back and down. Again, check the hands are hanging in front of you, that you've engaged your abdominals on your pelvic floor, your kneecaps are still facing the front, and now you feel that your shoulders are slightly drawn together at the back, your chest is lifted, but you feel tall and lifted. Well done. Now we're going to stand on one leg, so we're going to squeeze the ball between our legs. We're going to stand on our left leg, squeeze the ball between your heels so the right foot's slightly off the floor, and then relax. Again, breathing out, right leg, squeeze the ball, and then come back to the front. Good. And again, left foot, squeeze the ball, breathing in, release. And last one, breathing out, squeeze the ball, and inhale, release. Good. Then we're going to do up on the toes. So very small lift, because otherwise it becomes a balance exercise. We want this just to increase the awareness of our standing weight. So we're going to breathe out, go onto the toes, just a little lift of the heels, breathing in, down. Now take the weight back, 70% onto the heels. Come forwards, 100% now on the front of the foot, little lift, and then inhale, come back, take 70% of the weight on the heels, but relax the toes. Good. Again, up on the toes, lift, and down, 70% of the weight back on the heels, relax the toes though, keep the tummy in, especially the sways. And then last one, up on the toes, very good, and then down on the heels. And now 70% on the heels. We're just going to scan all those parts of the body again. So we're going to check we've got 70% of the weight on the heels, 30% of the toes, 50-50 on both legs. Just have a little feel of that. That our knees are soft, our pelvis is in the correct position where the rim of the bowl is horizontal, the abdominals and the pelvic floor are engaged, that the low back is nice and flat with the tailbone in the correct position, our upper back and chest is lifted, the back of our head is lifting up to the ceiling, the shoulders are back but square, our arms are relaxed with the hands in front of the thighs, the neck is long, the chin is tucked in and the head feels light and lifted. Great. So you can revisit this video at any time if you need to work on your posture, and if you want to share this with your friends and family, if you think they need to work on their posture and work out which posture type they are, you can do that too. Thank you very much for watching.